Welcome to writingalong.com. Have you ever wondered how writing is tied to your own identity, to your own personality, tied directly to who you are? As a whole, it's kind of just you can't avoid it. You can't take yourself out of the equation. You can't distance yourself from your own writing as much as you'd like to. You can have a pseudonym. You can be 50 layers discoverability wise from your own self, but it's who you are. You can't fake writing. You can't have a whole book that's just your words, but not really. Yeah, I already said it. Your own words. So there's a close interlink there, an interplay, and I make tons of episodes on. I've made plenty of content on how to utilize that, how to take advantage of that, and how to let that advance you as a person and therefore as a writer. It all because of that connection, a lot can be accomplished. But I also want you to understand the dynamics of it and how it really develops and grows. As you learn writing, as you've learned, the teachers who have, in the literal sense, ingrained how to get a word from your head, right? An image. You've seen letters. You have an alphabet system, and then you're able to make that symbol on a piece of paper, or you're able to type it. There's so many ways. That whole process is part of the developmental years of your life. Therefore, it's been growing about the same time as you really started becoming aware of things, as your mind started retaining things in a long-term memory. That's when writing really started kicking up, and it was a skill and ability you were able to use. It's been there the whole time, is what I'm saying. Writing has been sitting in the background. It's just been kind of there with you. If you haven't been using it, if you haven't really been writing, even if, I don't just mean creatively, I just mean in general, that ability. It's in everybody. Very few people do choose to utilize it, but everyone can. Most people just don't, they're not aware, they don't get that push, they don't get enough pushes. Sometimes you don't just need one, you don't just watch one episode, you watch 50, you hear it from a dozen people in your life, and you're like, oh well, I guess I should try it, that kind of thing. And that's really the significance of it, just the long-term aspect of it. Writing has been with you. It's seen everything. And it's been, as an ability, just kind of, everything you've, experienced and seen and just been through in your life, writing's been just kind of kicking back and just watching. Have you been using writing? Have you been conveying your emotions with it, or your thoughts with it, your ideas, your opinions about things? Have you been using it? Maybe sometimes a lot more than others, but nevertheless, it's there. And the deeper you understand writing, the deeper you can really understand your own identity and how it's developed. If you have old fragments of your writing, you consider yourself really fortunate. I'm talking in old essay works, old little journal entries you've written. Don't just throw those away. If you have them, I'm sorry. I mourn that kind of thing, because it's a cool experience, but it doesn't mean you can't experience it in the future, or you'll never be a writer, or some crazy stuff like that. It's just not the truth. It's not the fact. But the fact of the matter is, you can see your development as a person in terms of the words you chose. Every single word you chose. It doesn't have to have a psychoanalytical perspective on it. Just, again, why did you choose? Why did you say that? Why did you notice that? Why did you feel that? And how does it relate to what you're writing about now? You write about what matters, what's important to you, what's significant. Even if you're writing a story creatively, you're hopefully not writing about something you don't care about. If you are, it won't come across very authentically, because it's not sustainable. It's much like your life. As long as you're living, you'll be able to write. You don't see many dead people writing, right? You don't see any dead people writing. Maybe they're releasing the stuff posthumously, I think is the word, right? And people are, reading their stuff. But they did it when they were alive. It's part of your sense of self, whether you realize it actively or not. And it's one of those great experiences. One of the, I wish I could experience it again. Many people I know wish they could experience it again too. That moment where you realize, oh, this is me. It's part of me, and because of that, it's like a vehicle. It's a lens. I can put a lens on and see through it and realize, oh, this is how I saw the world at this time, and because of that, that shapes who I am, and how I started seeing the world shaped who I became. And it shapes who I will become. This is the part that I haven't really covered in other videos. You can kind of predict the future about yourself. I live in proof. All right, it's real. It's a real thing. It's not just some nonsense thing. You can write about your present. What's the old saying, right? You look at the past. They who know the past know the present, know the future. Well, it's a variation on it, but know what it came before to know what's coming ahead. Writing, same thing. Know the way that you used to write, because it's closely tied to your identity. It pretty much is your identity. It's been with you longer than a lot of things, a lot of people in your life. And then bring in how you write now, and what was the trajectory? Not just what changed, but how did it change? Was it gradual? Was it extreme? Were there moments where it happened in an extreme way? If you're looking at a graph or something, was it going like a wave? Where's it headed? Gives you an idea what ground haven't you covered yet in your mind? Is it staying the same? If it's staying the same, that's time for concern. I mean, as a human, you're changing a lot. So if there's not even the tiniest bit of growth or mental, challenging in you, that's a sign of, stagnation in your mind. And that's something that can kind of speak to you. You're going to keep going in that direction. Nothing's really going to change unless you actively change it yourself, which is part of why you want to be aware of that kind of stuff. You don't need some tarot card, like you don't need some fortune teller to just do this stuff for you. I don't, whether you believe in that stuff or not, I don't know, nor does it really matter. I'm saying you can predict the future for yourself, by yourself, in a very simple way. You're not losing a part of your soul when you do this. You're just gaining. You're kind of knowing what to expect. And when you have an idea of what's going to happen next, you don't know everything that's going to happen next. You don't know what's going to enter your life. You know how you're going to react to things. You know how you might change. And you're aware of what can change about your personality. What has been fixed? What has stayed the same? And that's a huge thing, because then you're able to build things around your life in the future based on what you know you're okay with, and what you know that has pretty much not really changed much, and what is changing all the time. And you can be really aware of that in your life and decisions you make. It's a decision-making art. Like it's directly tied into that. If what your life is going to look like in the next year matters to you, consider taking this seriously. If what your life is going to look like in the next 10 years is significant to you as well, but you don't want to wait 10 years to see how your eyes are going to see the world, look at your writing. Look at the way you write. Look at the way you've written. And you're going to learn a lot. You're going to be able to study in a way that only you can. I haven't seen your writing. I can't break it down for you. But because it's your own, you will come to that kind of intuitive self-understanding of, man, I don't really care about that anymore. I kind of never did, it was just a little era, it was a little phase there. Man, this has always been important to me. This has always been significant. Or I've always done this. This is something I've always noticed. You'll make decisions in your life according to that. And it's setting yourself up for something good, especially as a writer. You'll know writing. Do I really care about writing? Am I just going to be doing this as a hobby that, comes to no fruition and I'm just wasting my time? I'm willing to bet if you're watching this that writing is something that'll stick with you for your life. But it's worth finding that out, right? You don't want to do something you don't really love. It's something you don't really enjoy, something that doesn't really give you what you need from it. And it's one thing to understand who you are now and get glimpses of it, but getting a glimpse of your future self it's a little surreal. It almost feels like you're breaking the rules of reality or something. Like you shouldn't be able to do that, but you've probably met people with a great mastery, great self-control, great decision makers for their own lives and for lives around them too, because they know that their life affects others around them, and so they're careful of what they do. And you know people like that. You've seen people like that, heard of them, and writing is a great way to get to a point like that. There's no end goal you reach. I mean, you don't know I'm going to have this, I'm going to accomplish that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. But you know what matters, what doesn't matter. And it's funny, it's very self-relational. What matters more than that? What matters to you? it may feel redundant. You're gonna be like, David, what am I doing? I'm going over my old writings. Like, what? Sometimes I was just rambling. What was I really saying? No, you don't have to go in there picking for meaning. The words you actually mix together will elucidate something. They'll create a feeling. You'll sense it. If you don't have to be an emotional person to be sensitive to this, you'll pick up on what you were feeling. Now, what you were feeling then, and that complex wave. It's like a cloud or something. Like a picture, just this color just taking over your vision, and it's the feeling you get, this invigoration you have. And how does it differ from that? It's not something you got to study. It's not something you got to take 1,000 notes on. But check out your writing of the past, of the present, and you'll know yourself in the future. Not every little detail, but the stuff that is really important, the stuff that will help you as you progress and go further as a writer. Know if writing really matters to you. Know what will mean something to you in the future. That doesn't mean something to you now. It doesn't hurt at all. Check out How to Write a Book in 30 Days at writingalong.com, available on my website, completely free. And I'll see you around. Thanks for sticking by for this episode.